Hello again, everyone. This is Randy, your sewing machine man, and today we're looking at a Kenmore. And you know, me and Kenmores, we're big friends. I'm a big fan of the Kenmores, but here's one of the Kenmores I tell you, watch out. When you buy it, it could be a disaster. I don't go tell people to go looking for this little guy because he's got a myriad of tragic flaws. Of course, this was, give you the information here, it's a 158.1792080. 158 series, great fan. If they're the front load, not the drop-in bobbin, front load 15 class oscillating hook, they're bulletproof. They're like tanks. When it goes to the top load and you're looking for a Kenmore, if it's a top load, pass, move on. The 385, all those, I mean, if you have one, they're not the worst machines in the world. You can certainly do worse if the gears aren't broken, but you can do better with the front load 15 class, either in a cast iron or an alloy. There's plenty of those on the channel. You can see those. But anyhow, this little guy came in here locked up, like so many of them do, because people get them out of the closets or find them at the thrift store, and YouTube's your friend, and they figure they can figure it out. Well, sometimes you blast them with the little spray loose. You know, I buy this by the case, or you can get it at Home Depot or Lowe's or any of the Ace Hardware. But it works miracles to get these loosened up. This one was probably the toughest one I've ever got to loosen up. It took me forever. And a lot of times I'll come out to the shop here on a Sunday afternoon like this, and I'll, you know, have a machine fixed by the time I've listened to a few Carlos and a few Dwight Yoakams. But today was Carlos, Dwight, Allman Brothers, Pointer Sisters, and even a little Chris Stapleton there before I could even get the thing loosened up. I was going to show this to you today because this is the tool I get. This is the hand wheel won't turn, be careful not to break a tool. What do they call this? The grip wrench. I wish I could tell you where I got it. I've had it so long ago, maybe the internet wasn't even a thing at the time, but you can probably get it on the internet. They're probably out there, and you can adjust this thing by pushing this, and then you make the deal bigger or smaller. Ideally, you make it the size of the hand wheel, because the hand wheel on these crazy things are plastic. Believe it or not, it's got nothing but steel cam gears in the top. Steel, steel, steel everywhere. A little nylon drive gear down here that will break. This one was not broken. I was stunned. I thought it was locked up so tight because the gear had spread open and, you know, sprung and got it wedged in there. But that wasn't the case. So I had to, of course, turn it a full revolution so I could look at the entire circumference of the gear to see if it had any cracks in it. And the gear looked like brand new. I was amazed. I thought it was going to be a lost cause. But since the gear was good, we continued with the other struggles. That was get the hand wheel to turn, and you put this on the side over there and you work it. Of course, you can only go one direction because it, you know, slips and grips. This thing's priceless when you have a plastic hand wheel because you can over muscle it and break it. So you got to be gentle. You got to turn it maybe fourth, eighth of a turn. Once you get it going, first course you soak it with penetrating oil, everything but the motor, and don't get anything on the electronics. Sometimes you'll find yourself turning it up this way so everything flows out this end. Stand it up. You have to take the top off, 2 screws. Take the side off, 2 screws on top. You take the bottom off, 1 screw. You take this bottom off, 3 screws. You get it completely where it's accessible. And then up here in the top, you have 3 stacks of automatic mechanisms. It's almost like a automatic transmission in a car. It's pretty complicated. Now you can go to the YouTube videos and you can see them tearing transmissions apart. Some of these new constant velocity CVT transmissions, you see them taking them apart. You see how complicated they are, and you're like, wow, man, you gotta be kidding me. Well, this is that version, like a CVT of a car, but it's in a sewing machine. So complicated. Cams, releases, springs, followers, actuators. What a mess. Of course, over here, this knob wouldn't turn because you have to push it in. You hear the release, makes everything come out of gear, and then you move this up and down to pick your stitch. It was locked. Plastic. Had to be careful. The plunger inside, locked up. Had to be careful. Everything was just a nightmare. Bobbin winder's got a little micro switch on that, so when you want to wind the bobbin, you disengage, and of course it winds the bobbin, and then you disengage the micro switch, and then you're back in action. But every single feature of this machine was locked up. All the stretch stitches, all the patterns, the reverse. I don't know. It's sat forever without being used. I'm guessing it's sat forever because someone sewed on something heavy and the needle plate was chingered up, the hook was chingered up, and the bobbin case had a bunch of dings in that. So everything had to be done. It was just a complete 3-hour. I wouldn't even encourage you to get one of these if you turn the hand wheel and it doesn't turn nice and easy. If it doesn't turn easy, it's got a timing belt in there that can be kind of tight, but they have to be tighter. They'll jump a tooth. But it has to turn. And if you're going to buy one of these, make sure someone shows you that everything works. Because if somebody bought this new and used it and did everything, I get them all the time that people use them like crazy and everything works. It's a piece of cake. Just oil it and service it. 45 minutes later, it's good as new. But if it sits for 40 years, like this one obviously did, or longer, you have a problem. So this one was quite a challenge. And the only reason I did it was so I could show you this video. People say, why don't you show us step by step how you did it? Because I have one and I want to do it like you did, step by step. Well, A, I'm not going to make a 3-hour video. B, nobody's going to watch a 3-hour video. And C, you can't do it. You can't do it. There's so much patience involved, so much knowledge involved, so much experience involved, so much theory of how everything works, where you have to find this doesn't go, so this feeds that. This doesn't work, but it feeds that. So you work your way down every system to the feeders, to the reverse, to the patterns, to the automatic buttonhole that reverses automatically when you push this button. Everything works in unison, and everything on this was out of sync. You have to get every single thing working before you know whether or not anything works, because it all works in relation to each other. Now, this machine was unique in that it was one of the first ones with the needle up, needle down. Electronic, needle up, needle down. Needle down, needle up. Well, it's called electronic because that's what they gave to you. In addition to that, they gave you this real cool electronic foot control. I guess what's cool about it is that it unplugs and you lock it down into position, and then it slides underneath here for, get the goo gun out of the way, it slides under here for shipment. You put it in there so when you transport it, you know, it's out of the way. A lot of this stuff had to do with shipping costs and metal and plastic and weight. So this is plastic, has electronics on the inside, but you slide it over, it unlocks, push it down, it locks, and it saves some space when you're shipping these, you know, in a box with some foam. You want to save some space, so you put that in there like so. Now the other thing about these that's really weird is this thread mechanism on the back. See, this thing swings up like so, and swings down out of the way. And these are very fragile. There's one screw here. You take this off. I always take this apparatus off whenever I'm working on these machines because you just got to bump them and they'll just snap clean. So first thing I do is I take this screw off, take this apparatus off, set it aside, because I'm going to be flipping this thing up and over, back and forth, tumbling around. So I take that off first to make sure I don't break it. And quite often when I get these, those are broken, and then I have to drill an auxiliary spool pen on top to make it work. So this one, if you get one and it was grandma's or mom's or whatever, and they use it every day and you liked it and it worked for you, you know, go ahead, get it serviced. Make sure the gear down here underneath the main hook drive gear isn't broken. If everything's working fine, it's a made in Japan Kenmore. You know, getting better than that? Yep, a made in Japan Kenmore. That's a front load 15 class 158. So I tell people get a Kenmore, but make sure it's a 158 15 class front load. If it's an alloy, that's good. If it's a cast iron, that's good. But all Kenmores aren't awesome. Most of them are. This one is the 158.1792080. If you see one out there and it's not operating and in a shop with a guarantee, I would skip it because you can't get it going. It's too hard.